Well, it's time for Studio Live here on Ozarks Public Radio KSMU. I'm Randy Stewart with Jess Belisle.
Hey, Randy.
Hey
Happy
there.
Friday.
It is indeed, especially since our guest today is returning. It's actually been a little too long since we've seen him last. jinjx is here with us today.
Great to be here. Thank you guys for having me.
We're glad to have you. You want to start out with a song?
Yeah.
All right.
So I know we do originals, so I'd like to do one of my old Chicago songs. It's called Fly Above the Clouds.
All right.
Now. Give me light. It's like the stars that shine above. You shine so bright, you shine so bright. With your rays of sweet sun love. I feel this way because I fly to you. You're in the sky, my lovely sun so true. You spark the heavens with your glory. And the hope of mystic story. Then I fly above the cloud. Then I fly above the cloud. Then I fly above the clouds. Then I fly above the clouds. Run away, run away, run away, my love. And take the sun from this dark place. Run away, run away, run away, my son love. For the moon reflects your face. Take away my light with your smile. I'll shine from the other side, but it'll only last a while. Keep shining brightly, my blessed day star. Keep shining nightly so I can see you from afar. Then I fly above the clouds. Then I fly above the clouds. Then I fly above the clouds. Then I fly above the clouds.
Above the Clouds. That is jinjx on Studio Live Performance here on Ozarks Public Radio, KSMU.
I felt like I was flying above the clouds.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
really, with that last bit, with the looping. It's got a very airy, take you above the clouds kind of feel.
You have got to get a photo of his effects pedal board.
Oh, I already did.
Did you? Okay,
You
good.
can check it out. KSMU's Twitter, we're at KSMU, and I've also posted it on Instagram, where we are KSMU Radio. So check that out. I'll be adding some stuff to Facebook too here in a little bit.
Before we came in here, Jen was talking about. I was asking about the any additions and so on to the pedal board. And
Yeah, it should be noted here for our listening audience. Jin plays almost just as much with his feet than he
it's
actually
like
does with his hands.
it's like playing a pipe organ,
It kinda
hands and
is.
feet both.
Yeah,
But
That's what I'm going for.
Yeah,
there you go.
I don't like. I play guitar because I kind of inherited the instrument, but really, to me, the organ is the grandmother instrument. It's my opinion, anyway.
It's kind of a driving force, you know.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, as are you with this collection of
well, you were talking.
organ pedals, we'll call them.
Well, you were talking about it's almost you're almost doing river dance,
Yeah.
except that you were hitting a few of those pedals with a hand, so not a foot. So.
Yeah. It's whatever you can reach down to.
That's right.
A lot of times I'm standing.
Yeah, right.
And so I feel like I play better when I sit, but there's more energy when I stand. So some of these are more in a position to stand as opposed to sit.
Right.
But-
yeah, I can see that.
It is what it is.
I mean, either way, sitting or standing, you've got certain limitations and advantages that you
You're right.
can work with. So maybe you just need two pedal boards, one arranged for sitting, one arranged for standing. Totally doable.
That's doable, but this stuff's expensive.
Yeah, I was
Right,
going to say.
there's like 4, 5, 6, like 12 things on there. So, yeah.
The only thing I really need is just the looper, but all this other stuff, I kind of hope that the listener doesn't get bored and there's a lot of stimulating sounds that can come out. So it's just kind of a way to add some goodies.
Totally. And when you work that into your tone, like, it does definitely change it completely. A lot of people may not have a lot of experience with pedals to that degree. I mean, sure, you've got one that might have some fuzz or distortion, but for your regular average listener out there, this is quite the arrangement of tone-changing capabilities.
Yeah.
Well, it certainly allows you to get different sounds, different colorations, and of course, just the one pedal or the one loop unit that gives you kind of a background beat to work with.
Yeah.
What's your very favorite sound on this board?
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, it's this piece called the Boss Super Octave. The old school octave, there was a OC2 from the 80s, which sounded a lot better. But this thing kind of allows you to...
Can we hear a little bit of it?
Yeah, I mean, like, without it, you can kind of play... But this thing allows me to kind of have a low bass so I can...
I was noticing a lot of the low bass
I
notes,
like
and
that.
it's like I've never heard a 6-string electric guitar do that.
And we should mention, Randy, while we're talking about this incredible gear setup, Jin is actually running his guitar through 2 amps, a regular guitar amp, and then a bass amp
That's right.
to heighten those tones.
Right.
And as a bass player, Jin, I love it. I love it.
There you go.
That's it.
Well, why don't we hear another song?
Very good.
Awesome. So this is a song. I'm going to see if I can get through it. I used to be a contributor to the Wild Bob's Musical Book Club pretty regularly.
Right.
And so this song was from The Receiver, and it's called Receive. Now, here we go.
All right.
Thank
hands in my hands, won't you give me sight? Let me grow now. Show me your soul now. And show me the truth about the world. You let me know. Let me know now. Let me know. Let me know now. Let me know. Let me know now. Let me know. Let me go now. Let me know. I'll let you see deep down in me. And with these heavy visions, you'll be me. And then you'll know now, deep in your soul now. And then you'll become the receiver, and then I go. And then I go now. And then I go. And then I go now. And then I go. Let me know now. Let me know. Let me know now. Let me know.
Well, I'll tell you, Uncle Bob's has been a tremendous inspiration for a lot of local songwriters. You know,
Bob's.
yeah, Wild. What did I say?
Uncle Bob's.
Uncle Bob, Wild Bob. Well, Uncle Bob. He could be. He's somebody.
Well, you know.
He's got to be somebody's uncle, but
He
Wild Bob.
probably is. There
But
you go.
but just the very fact that the folks that participate in that have to work on basically deadlines are good things. You know, for
Well,
creativity, or can
I
be.
will say to that song, Christy Meredith is listening.
Oh, very good.
And she was particularly loving that song.
Oh,
And she loves you.
Christy is one of my favorite people, and one of, like, not just the best singers locally, but one of my favorite musicians that I've met. Just very, very brilliant. And I was lucky. I did a Prince tribute last year, and I was able to steal her and con her into playing with me. She's a dear friend.
She's perfect for that. Yeah,
I was wondering if you've gotten to work with her very often.
Yeah, I actually I had a birthday show too, and I snuck her up, and we did a Jill Scott song. That's kind of how I get her. I always have to get her in the moment. And she's such a great singer, and I love her band too and what she does at Bruco.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Will we hear any Prince songs tonight at Barley, Wheat, and Rye?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And to that end, I'll mention, as everyone knows to expect it now, we've got our Studio Live Social Hour show tonight. Barley, Wheat, and Rye down at the Farmers Park. We'll be rocking it here with Gin from 6 to 8. I hear rumors that A1 Mr. Brett Miller from Brother Wiley might be around.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a fun show, guys. I hope you come out and start your weekend off right with us here at KSMU.
And, you know, next weekend, Jin's participating in a major fundraiser.
That's right.
That's right. My friends in Sister Lucille, Kimberly.
Another great band.
Great band, great people.
John Darkhorse uses their CD a lot on his blues show.
They're wonderful folks, and I was very honored to be asked to open up the set. I believe it's something to the effect of 7 to 8 or 7 to 10, excuse me, and I'm going to be doing something from about 7:30 till 8 until the band starts with the Sister Lucille band, and so I'm excited to do that as a trio.
This is their 5th annual Christmas benefit for Rare Breed.
That's right.
And it's next Friday, as you said, basically 7 to 10 p.m. at a Classic Rock Cafe.
Yeah, it's going to be fun because I don't really get to play with bands anymore, so it'll be cool to. I think it was at the Drunken Monkey a couple months ago. I went out to support them, and Jamie said, "Get on my guitar and play," and I wasn't expecting that, and it was such a fun time, so we're going to do something like that again next week.
When you play with bands versus, like, you know, just play solo like this, do you feel more restricted, less restricted? Maybe, like, you can cut loose a little bit more in a band that you don't have to, like, hold down the whole thing?
I mean, but I don't know. I like holding it all down.
Yeah.
Depending on the players. I know when we were here last, I was singing the praises of Sean Monday and Frederick Jackson. Those guys, when I played with them, are really, you can kind of be yourself. Yeah. But a lot of players, they don't play in good time or they do too much, and that can be more restrictive. So it depends on the players. But I like being solo most of the time.
There's a certain unity to having a band that plays together frequently, and you're rehearsing with them, and you know what their idiosyncrasies are.
You know
when you're just sitting in a kind of jam session, like it's a little bit different.
I would actually disagree with that because I never practiced with my brother Frederick, and I never practiced with Sean.
Oh, okay.
It was kind of like they had it, you know. And when I played with the Sister Lucille band, it was the same thing. It just felt fun. You know that if people don't have it, it doesn't matter how much you rehearse. It's almost going to be like picking at a sore.
Yeah.
You know, if you're like, well, your time is bad, you need to step that up. That's gonna make them feel weird. So,
and it probably won't happen anyway.
Exactly. They're not gonna work on it because you ask them to. So
right.
You kind of want to play with the players that already have the pieces that you want.
Yeah.
Ideally.
Well, speaking of that, let's if you're ready to do this, let's talk a little bit about who you are listening to right now. Because we had a brief conversation about this before the show started, and you're kind of into some of these new jazz guys.
That's right. The big guy to me is Robert Glasper, who is a jazz piano player, about my age and just amazing. And so he's an inspiration to me in terms of keep learning, keep pushing. I like Gilad Hexelman, and Robert Glasper plays with Derek Hodge, who's a great bass player.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the mighty Thundercat and Corey Henry. All these guys were born late 70s.
Anderson .Paak.
Anderson .Paak, he's brilliant, you know. And I actually saw something on Instagram playing with Raphael Sadiq, who's kind of like the elder statesman for guys like me. And so there's just a lot of great R&B and kind of jazz-influenced music, and I'm listening to it, trying to figure it out.
Now, a lot of these guys, like, you know, Thundercat, Anderson .Paak, they're kind of coming into more of a mainstream situation where people know about them a little bit more than maybe some of the older guys. Do you see that changing the way things are going with jazz? Like, as far as how people, you listen to it, consume it? Like, do you think there's kind of like a jazz renaissance? To go as far to say that, maybe?
I do. I believe that what Robert Glasper's done is he's basically kind of reinvented the wheel by taking the hip hop elements, and he's respected not only with the hip hop guys because he can play anything, but he also can play straight ahead jazz and bebop. So I do think we're at a kind of like the beginning of a golden age, and I'm hoping that people keep turning on to it. You know?
That's been the story of jazz for 100 years, though, is reinventing itself constantly.
That's right.
Albeit with a lot of resistance from the old guard.
Well, but the good thing about this whole Thundercat and these guys is that they didn't go through, there's not like a downbeat magazine that kind of watched them grow up.
Right.
Because they came through hip hop, I think that they were able to avoid a lot of the stuff that Miles Davis went through. They just do their music, and it's really inspiring.
Well, glad to hear it, because we love that music.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's good stuff.
I'll tell you guys this. I just hung up a couple of pictures in the front office here at KSMU of Tiny Desk concerts that NPR does of Thundercat and Anderson .Paak. So I'm on the train. I'm with you, Jen.
That's right.
Well, let's hear another song.
Yeah. So this is a song again I used to do in the Chicago days. It's called Evangeline. Kind of quick story about this one. I wrote it for my drummer's little daughter when I lived in Chicago. As I was on my way out, him and his wife had this little lady, and she grows up every day. It's kind of cool to see her on Facebook. But I put my foot in my mouth whenever they said, I said, well, what is her name? And they said, Evangeline. And I was like, oh, like religious fanaticism. And they gave me this look.
Oh, no.
And so I went in and felt kind of bad, but I wrote a song for her. So this is called Evangeline for little Eva. Eva, sweet Eva, you'll learn to possess the joys and the pain of the world, more or less. And you'll learn to move on past the joys and the pain. And you'll learn to be strong, 'cause some will remain. And I pray you love, and I hope you give love, and I hope you love, and I hope you see love. And I pray you love now. I hope you give love, I hope you love, and I hope you see. Evangeline, you speak right to my heart, girl, with the love that leads. Believes this world is mean, but you heal a broken heart, girl, with the blood that bleeds. It bleeds. Eva, sweet Eva, you'll soon represent the joys and the pain of the world, more or less. And you learn to move on past the joys and the pain. And you learn to be strong, 'cause some will remain. Eva, oh baby, won't you fly like the raven flies? Eva, oh baby, won't you fly like the evil flies? And I pray you love, and I hope you give love, hope you love, and I hope you see love, and I pray you love now, and I hope you give love, hope you love, and I hope you see. Evangeline, you heal a broken heart, girl, with the blood that bleeds. It bleeds, the world is mean, but you heal a broken heart, girl, with the blood that beats.
Evangeline. That's jinjx on KSMU Studio Live. Of course, you can see him live and in person tonight at 6 at Barley Wheat and Rice Social House out in Southeast Springfield. And next Friday night, 7 to 10 p.m., he's going to be part of Sister Lucille's 5th annual Christmas benefit for Rare Breed at Classic Rock Coffee. And you got other things coming up, too. You'll be doing a New Year's Eve show at front of house.
That's right. There's the burlesque show there. I know that they usually have a ton of things at the Outland on New Year's, so I've always wanted to do something for New Year's, so I went on and said yes to that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That'll be a fun time. Are they? Is that part of the pub crawl?
I don't know.
Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't.
Right.
I guess if you're interested in attending, just check Facebook and figure
Right.
it out.
That's right.
You're watching you play, and not just watching, but listening to the looping and all the other effects. It's funny. I saw a YouTube video a couple of days ago from 1953. It was the old CBS Sunday afternoon arts program called Omnibus, with Alistair Cook as the host, and he had Les Paul and Mary Ford on. And Les Paul, actually both of them, they were basically demonstrating their multi-track recording technique.
Yeah.
Now, what would Les Paul have done 60 years ago if he'd had effects pedals? Kind of like what we have today.
Yeah, he was. Him and Mary Ford both were not only ahead of their time.
Yeah, very much so.
But I actually heard, I don't know if this is musician legend, but they said that sometime in the 70s, I think, when he was still with Mary Ford, they said that Les Paul was driving around. He went to some old restaurant that had one of his early multi-track recorders. And people were like, yeah, wow, it's great that, you made this and here you are. And apparently he's like, well, why is this here? Why isn't it being used?
Right.
And they're like, well, there's only one Les Paul and Mary Ford. And they didn't get, like, that could have been applied to several different things. So he was brilliant. And I love his guitar playing. He played a lot of hollow bodies. And, of course, he played his mighty Les Pauls.
Right.
And he was just a brilliant man.
Of course, on the TV show, they basically just had two old Ampex reel-to-reel machines side by side, and he said, "This is basically what we do. This is, and that was 1953. That was pre-stereo. It was pre a lot of things actually, but he invented a whole vocabulary really for the electric guitar.
Sure did. On not just like jazz, but country. I mean, he was doing.
Well, Mary Ford was basically a country singer. That was her background before they got married.
And the one of my favorite albums, the Chester and Lester album, where he is just so cheesy but great music, just so rich with just and Chet Atkins is probably one of my favorite guitar players.
Yeah.
So he's brilliant.
Sorry about the history lesson there, but
I
sounds good to me. Yeah, really. And we know that you also have a new project coming up next year.
Yeah,
rumors of it.
Rumors of it.
Rumors exist.
Yeah, some of it's under wraps, but I know when I was here last, I was like playing a lot, like 5 shows in 24 hours type of things, and I kind of needed a break, and so 2016 I really didn't do much. 2017 I've done some things, including the last waltz with Jess earlier in the year and some other things, and so basically some ideas have been coming back, and I'm hoping to work on a new project early next year. That's all I can say about it.
Okay.
Well,
but just be looking for it.
Yeah, that's right.
On behalf of the musical community, we have missed you, and we're glad you're coming back.
That's cool. Thank you.
We all missed you.
Thank you, sir.
So says Kenny, who's sitting in with us. Well, let's hear another song.
Yeah. Yeah. So sorry, I'm still getting my wits about me. We'll do,
Right. You're shifting gears back to musician.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Making sure the loop's turned off.
Exactly.
This one is another Wild Bob song. It's called "Fly to the Distance." I think it was. Yeah, it was kind of during an interesting time with the Wild Bobs thing, where it was like a great combination of people that were part of it and listening. So also respect to Mark and Mallory, who've moved out to the West Coast. We really miss them.
Definitely.
But this song is for them. It's called "To the Distance." Fly to the distance, away from here, gone in an instant. Forward with no fear. Fly to the distance, away from here, gone in an instant. Forward with no fear, like a fantasy when you fly with me, like it's not equal if you want to be free, like a fantasy when you fly with me, like it's not equal if you want to be free.
So, if people are digging this today, what is the best way for them to keep up with you on the internet?
Well, I have a website, but it is in deep need of repair. But it's jinjxmusic.com. So that's jinjxmusic.com. Also, Facebook is facebook.com/jinjxmusic is really what I stay pretty focused on.
I have a feeling like that's kind of what most people tend to gravitate to anyway these days. So
Yeah,
just find them on Facebook.
that's right.
That way we can keep up with your gigs and this potential project that is
for next year.
looming over the horizon of 2018,
Yeah.
like some great jazz beast.
Well, you know, the next piece or the next project, it's going to have some jazz roots, but I think it's going to go in a bit of a different direction.
Ooh,
So,
I can't wait to see what that's going to be.
yeah.
Very exciting.
You know, earlier in the hour, you mentioned it was a phrase that kind of caught my ear. You talked about inheriting the guitar. What did you mean by that?
So I come from a bit of a musical family,
Right.
from SEMO, from the Poplar Bluff, Missouri area. My mom is a singer and a minister. All my uncles have their own churches. My grandfather's 79, still preaches at 2 churches. So I grew up here, hearing kind of the music of this area, and then going over to hear the uncles. And they all played guitar and bass. And I got into guitar a lot later. I was kind of a teenager, but I don't really like the guitar, but it's kind of like the instrument that I've put in the most time.
It's interesting to hear somebody like you who is so talented at guitar say.
Well,
Well,
I
what,
don't
what,
like
what's
it.
what would your favorite instrument be if it's not the guitar?
It goes back to organ, but really the EP, the electric piano, like the
Yeah.
Rhodes
Oh, okay.
from
All
the
right.
60s and 70s. At one point when I lived in Chicago, I had kind of stopped playing guitar. I used to sneak into DePaul's music rooms and play their pianos. Eventually, a security guard got on to me, and I didn't have the heart to keep breaking back in. But
You weren't a DePaul student, I take it.
I was not a DePaul student, but I lived in the neighborhood,
Okay.
and also the downtown library and the Harold Washington Library has 9 floors. The 8th floor has pianos. So
Oh, very
I
nice.
spent a lot of time playing piano, and I probably should be a piano player or a bass player, but this kind of allows me to do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
interesting.
in addition to all of this stuff, you just need to start hauling around a piano. Dude's like, no way, I'm totally not doing that.
No.
Well, I mean, we talked about, like, I think in the future, a lot of this stuff will be digital. And so a
Oh,
person will
yeah.
be able to bring a controller and a soft synth and a guitar and do all I can do. But like that bass octave, we haven't found a digital thing that can do that yet.
Yeah.
And so some of this stuff, it's kind of like one-off gear that has to come with me, but I don't think it will forever.
Well, if it's not digital, what is it then? I mean, how does it work if it's?
Well, they all are technically digital.
Yeah, technically they
but
should be.
I know that certain one of the some of these have analog chips.
Okay.
Bucket Brigade chips.
There you go.
And so some of these are like all the distortions and boosts are analog, whereas the harmonist that has that kind of. That's something that really only a digital thing could do operationally.
Probably.
So.
Well, you know, all of these pedal switches and effects pedals and so on are mounted on about a 2 foot by 2 foot pegboard.
Well-
it used to have more. It used to be bigger than that. You
Yeah, it
kind of
did.
consolidated.
Randy, I had some news today that there is a new pedal board in the works.
Uh-huh.
That's right. That's right. It's going to take a lot of glue and Velcro and double-sided tape.
That's kind of a fun project, though. When it's something so personal like that, like your pedal board that you use all the time, and to put that together, like, I love that kind of stuff.
I mean, but I
You're
hate
kinda
it.
looking at me like I'm crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it should be fun, but I don't like double-sided tape and
Yeah.
Velcro because it gets really gross.
It does.
Sure. Oh yeah.
And then, like, some of these pedals are coming and going, but it's they take so much more of a beat down, just all loose like this. So I'm gonna kind of compromise and get a pedal board, and
It's gonna be nice.
it's gonna be cool.
You're
Yeah.
gonna like it when it's done.
It's true. It's true.
Oh, well, how about another song, huh?
Yes.
Yeah. I'd like to do a Prince-inspired song. This is called "Paint a Picture." It was on the album that I did called Night Wings, and it was kind of like the Prince song.
Yeah.
So, see if I can actually loop it from the beginning. Turn off the delay. Let me paint a picture for you. Let me show you how much I love you. And your eyes and your lips, girl. Let me paint a picture for you. Let me write a song for you. Let me play the melody. Oh, girl, I love you. Your eyes, girl, and your lips, girl. Let me paint a picture for you. Let me do one more, right?
So what do you call that again?
Paint a picture.
That's what I thought.
I like that one a lot.
Been a while since I've done that, so
Yeah.
I had to kind of remember the words.
I'm
Sorry.
glad you brought it back out.
Yeah.
And so, as a Prince fan, you will be playing some Prince songs for us tonight. Maybe even this one again for our in-person audience. So, if you're liking what you're hearing, come out to Barley Wheat and Rye tonight for Studio Live Social Hour. We will have Jen playing for 2 hours, 6 to 8 tonight. We're really excited about this. It's going to be a fun show. I already know of tons of people coming, so let's party, right?
I'm excited, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be there.
Awesome. Kenny Knauer will be there, ladies and gentlemen.
So what, we're not doing a show tonight?
As you recall, we have it pre-recorded.
Yeah, okay, that's right, okay.
Well, good. As long as we've got a show tonight on the radio.
That's what we need.
If you aren't at Barley, Wheat, and Rye tonight, tune in for Kenny's show.
That's right. I was almost going to declare you strictly a fingerstyle player, but you were using a pick on that last song, weren't you?
Yeah, I kind of hide the pick.
Yeah, exactly.
To try to do two things at once.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why I don't like the guitar, because it's like two hands to do one note is really stupid. So I'm trying to find ways around that. And there's a guy named, I think I mentioned him, Gilad Hexelman, that's really, him and Charlie Hunter, they're showing us the right way to play guitar.
Charlie Hunter is really a remarkable player.
Yeah, he's amazing.
We do have time for one more song if you'd like to throw one our way.
I'll try to rush through a quick one. This one is called The Magic Children. This is for my grandmother. She passed away a couple months ago, and this song kind of reminds me of like the Popper Bluff thing. So I'll try to rush on through it. Thank you guys for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here.
Children, they said, making memories, telling stories. Looking back, they will see how things in different shades. When pictures fade, they might feel the pain. When wisdom's gained or ignorance fade, or be allowed to see how good life can be. Feel the agony. Life stays the same. It's in this or a game, with people throwing blame. It's the magic children, innocent, so bright. Don't change, stay the same. Don't let evil stop a light.